Okay, lesson 2, which starts on page M1-21. The warm-up real quick, let's just talk about, remember, quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4, and identifying those points. A is at 5, 2, B is at 2, 0, C is at 1, negative 4, D at negative 5, 2, E is at 0, 6, and F is at negative 8, negative 8. Okay, we're not going to cut these out for today. We're going to cut that out sometime next week. But the 19 graphs that are there, what they've done here is group those 19 graphs into some specific ones, and we're going to talk about why they grouped them the way they did. So on the next page, M123, the reason why they grouped these together, they're all not connected. And what we call these things is a discrete graph. As you can see, they're just several points not connected. So what discrete means is not connected graphs. Okay, well, the ones we've been looking at so far have been solid, have been connected. Okay, but we can still analyze them the same way we've been doing. On letter I, okay, our eyes are going up. On letter L, our eyes are going down. On R, our eyes are horizontal. It's flat, so we call it constant. Letter E is a little tricky just because you got both going on. It just looks a little bit awkward. What your eyes are doing from one point to the next point to next, your eyes are going up. And then they turn, and then your eyes are going down. So this has one of each. There's not a lot to talk about besides, hey, we got discrete graphs now, and they can continue to do the same things we've been doing. On the next one, Ashley grouped these together because she claims they all have a vertical axis of symmetry, meaning you could cut that vertically from top, bottom, bottom up, and cut it right down the middle, and the left folds onto the right. So in letter C, we have an axis of symmetry right here down the middle. And we've talked about the axis of symmetry before. I'm going to come back to E. J has an axis of symmetry. Q has an axis of symmetry. It got shifted over to the left a little bit. And so does S, right here, an axis of symmetry. Now let's go around and continue to analyze them like we've been doing. On this first one, our eyes are going down. And then where they turn, right here, that is what we call our minimum. We've seen that already. And then our eyes are going back up. I'll come back to E. Letter J, same thing. Our eyes are going down. We are decreasing. Right here we return. We have another minimum. And then our eyes are going back up, increasing. Same thing on Q. We have a minimum down here. Eyes go, oops, sorry. That's a decreasing. I wrote increasing. And then lastly, decreasing. Turns. We have a minimum. And then increasing. Okay. Now, these graphs, I'm going to start giving them special names. Instead of the V-shaped or U-shaped, let's talk about the special names for each one. On letter C, when it is V-shaped, this is what we call an absolute value graph. That's its official name. When it's U-shaped, like on J, we call that a quadratic graph. So this is a quadratic, and this is an absolute value. Now, the four that we just did here, these are also what we call continuous graphs. Again, we've talked about the word continuous before. That is where they are connected from point to point. So that's why you're seeing those solid pieces. These are all continuous. But the one that I skipped over, and I'm going to come back to, is the one that is not connected. That is, again, what we call a discrete graph. Now, that discrete graph, it's hard to tell, but it is U-shaped. So this is another quadratic. It just so happens to be discrete. Okay? All right. Dwayne here grouped these graphs together because he thinks it only goes through 2 quadrants. So let's go through and see if that is true. Letter C, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, sounds good. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, sounds good. Letter M, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, so far sounds good. Now on letter M here, this graph, it looks like it's going to continue on down, but it is not. Okay, it is eventually going to kind of flatten out and hover right above the x-axis without ever crossing it. This graph gets a special name, which we call an exponential graph. That is its official name. And our eyes are going down, so we say it's decreasing, okay? But it is still only in 2 quadrants, so far Dwayne is correct. And lastly, on letter Q, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and Dwayne is incorrect because this is an arrow right here, and that arrow means this graph is going to continue to open up and out. So eventually, this is going to cross into quadrant 1. So Dwayne is right on 3 of the 4, okay? So let's go back again, knowing our names. This is an absolute value because it's V-shaped. This is a quadratic because it is a U-shaped. That is an exponential, and we have another quadratic, okay? We are going to skip over this page, number 4, okay, which is on M1-26. So we're going to skip over that. And then the talk the talk I'm going to do in the next video.